Army receives roughly $1.5 billion worth of aid from the U.S. per year. What does that money buy you? Stability. And that's what people here on the ground are looking for. Cal Perry, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
Speak to Jackie Rowland in Cairo.
I have no idea.
Now, she's been observing the celebrations, but Jackie, I'd like to talk about the this issue of
view its instability. But once elections are held, the Israelis will be concerned about the potential performance of the Muslim Brotherhood, which presumably will be allowed for the first time ever to run properly as a party in its own right in Egyptian elections. Now, Israel is very much haunted by what it calls the Islamist threat. It's very worried about the power of Hamas in Gaza. It will be even
I just think because they're hoping to start a war.
more worried about the idea of an Islamist party taking political power, or at least having a large say in a government or a future parliament in Egypt. That would be seen by the Israelis as something that deeply threatening, and also potentially threatening the future of that peace treaty, which has guaranteed the Israelis stability on their southern border, and therefore the ability to concentrate their military and their intelligence concerns really on other issues such as Gaza, the West Bank, and crucially the northern border, Lebanon and Syria.
many have voiced concern, of course, about the political vacuum that Hosni Mubarak's leaving presents, and who replaces him after 30 years of his leadership. But is there any way that people could begin to see this as an opportunity?
Well, people in Egypt evidently see it as a huge opportunity. They aren't concerned, there's no fears expressed in Cairo about the idea that the military would just entrench itself and you would see General Tantawi becoming president for the next 30 years. That's not something that people fear here. There is that huge trust with the army. The fact that one of the main slogans that we heard over recent days was the people and the army hand in hand, the people and the army united. I think that people were very concerned that the army should be identified with the people, so we would see ordinary demonstrators handing babies to soldiers to be kissed. And certainly this evening, Friday night, in and around Tahrir Square, the army on the streets taking really quite a low profile. They're standing in the background, they're there in the shadows, but people are coming up to them, having their photograph taken with soldiers. So I don't think at the moment people are so worried about the power vacuum. They're seeing the army as a trustworthy guarantor who guarantee security in this interim. Period, and whom they trust to hold good to their word, that they will arrange elections and that they will hand them in trying to mediate, to marshal between the Israelis and the Palestinians. But when you think about it, if he was a mediator, he wasn't a terribly good one, because we're still no closer to a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians than we were many years ago. In fact, you could argue that we're actually further away. Other regional forces are also important mediators, King Abdullah in Jordan. I think everything will really hinge on the kind of government that emerges after elections, although of course there are many in the Palestinian camp who will argue that Israel isn't really interested in a peace treaty. It just wants stability, it wants security, and it isn't really interested in giving up land, and it isn't really interested in establishing a Palestinian state. But obviously from the Palestinian point of view, Palestinians who we've seen celebrating in Gaza and also in the West Bank, they will be hoping that a new Egyptian government will not be cynical, will not be interested in sort of big geopolitical games, but will truly actually try to engage and use the mandate of the Egyptian people to try to advance, to push forward the Palestinian legitimate aspirations to have their own democracy and, like the Egyptians, eventually to be able to choose their own leaders.
All right, Jackie, leave it there for the time being. Thanks very much indeed. Jackie Rose talking to us there from Cairo. Well, as we look down on Liberation Square, the last 24 hours of going to stay as president. Then at 6 o'clock in the evening, the Vice President, Omar Suleiman, made a brief statement to say that Hosni Mubarak has stepped down as president. The Supreme Military Council, we're actually looking at a different graphic there on the screen there anyway, but the military announced they will at a later time define the steps to lead the people. We'll just clear that up and bring it to you a bit later. Okay, let's find out what's happening in Alexandria, Egypt's second city. Jamal Ashal is there. Jamal, take us through it. What's happening?
Nick, I'm trying to hear what you're asking me, but it's almost impossible because the sound... You know, it's just getting louder by the minute. It is really tremendous to see the sights of bicycles, motorbikes, every mode of transport, people walking, people jumping up and down, dancing, fireworks, and this continues. I mean, I'm looking at the scene for the past few hours, and it's just getting even more and more festive as we speak, Nick.
Jamal, I dare say, judging by the pictures we're seeing and what you're saying, that nobody's anticipating getting any sleep tonight.
Yes, I doubt anyone will be getting any sleep tonight, and I've been trying for the past few hours to think of something that resembles the scenes that I'm looking at right now. It's really, it's almost impossible. This is possibly 30 years of pent-up emotion coming together in a massive explosion of joy, of happiness, and of ecstasy. Obviously, Alexandria itself, despite not being the focal point the same way Tahrir or Liberation Square was, Alexandria played a massive role in this uprising. You know, on more than one occasion, more than 1 million people, more than 1 million Alexandrians, that's more than 1 out of every 7 of those living here, came out on the streets demanding Mubarak's departure. Alexandria also has the religious sectarian sensitivities that I mentioned to it. It has the fact that there's a strong Muslim brotherhood present here. That I mentioned. It has the fact that it is the historical point of Egyptian victory against a monarchy that was also despised. There's so much sentiment to this city, to this ancient city, which once was the Egyptian capital. Let us remember. The people here really do believe that they are as much a part of this revolution as any other part in Egypt. And that is why this party continues. That is why the screaming, the shouting, the singing, the dancing will continue for days. I'm speaking to people here that tell me 11th of February 2011, they will never forget this day. This is every Alexandrian's birthday. This is every Alexandrian's almost reference point. They tell me just as the United States redefined itself post 9/11, while the Egyptians here will define themselves post 11th of February 2011, Nick.
Jamal, I'll tell you what, we're going to let you continue gathering information about what's happening there in the celebrations in Alexandria, because right now we've got somebody else who knows something of Alexandria and what's been going on there. Mirat Abd El Magrid, a pro-democracy supporter. You took part in the protest